The old Ravenhill orphanage sat at the edge of Forgotten Road, just outside the small town of Greystone, Pennsylvania. Its windows were boarded up. Ivy had strangled half the brick walls, and the crooked sign out front still read, Ravenhill Home for Children, EST 1923. Every kid in Greystone had heard the stories. How the place shut down overnight in the 80s, how people swore they saw lights in the windows, and how sometimes, if you parked nearby after dark, you could hear laughter coming from inside. That's exactly why Eli, Samantha, Marcus, and Jenna were there that night. It started as a dare. Come on, guys. Marcus grinned, shining his flashlight across the iron gates. Hide and seek in there. That's YouTube gold. Urban exploration plus ghost hunting. Samantha rolled her eyes, but smiled anyway. We're gonna get arrested, not famous. Relax, Jenna said, wrapping her jacket tighter. No one even comes out here. My uncle said they shut the place down after a fire. Eli didn't say much. He was the quiet one, always filming behind the camera. His phone was already recording, catching the moment they pried open a side door with a crowbar. The inside smelled like rot and dust. Broken toys lay scattered on the floor, a headless doll, a rusted tricycle, a jump rope stretched across a doorway like a warning line. Creepy level. 10 out of 10. Marcus whispered, his voice bouncing off the empty hall. Samantha laughed nervously. Let's just pick a floor and get this over with. One game, 10 minutes, then we go. The rules were simple. 1 seeker, 3 hiders. First one found switches places. Jenna pulled out her phone and started a timer. Ready. Eli volunteered to seek first. He counted loudly. 1, 2, 3. As his friends scattered down the hallway. When he reached 20, he opened his eyes. Silence. His flashlight beam sliced through the dark. Dust floated like snow. He could still smell the faint scent of burnt wood, maybe from a fire Jenna mentioned. But deeper than that, there was something else, something sour, almost like old milk or rotting food. He started searching. Behind the front desk, nothing. Under the staircase, just cobwebs. Through a set of double doors, a wide playroom filled with overturned furniture and peeling wallpaper. A mural of smiling cartoon children stretched across one wall. Half the faces had been burned away. Then Eli noticed something odd. Tiny handprints, dozens of them, pressed into the soot on the walls, like children had run their hands through ash and left their marks everywhere. He called out softly, Marcus? Samantha? You guys trying to freak me out? No response. Just a faint echo of laughter, a child's laugh, drifting from upstairs. He froze. That wasn't Marcus. And it definitely wasn't Jenna. Meanwhile, hidden behind an overturned cabinet on the second floor, Samantha was trying not to breathe too loud. She checked her phone. 9 minutes left. She could hear Eli's footsteps faintly below, the creak of boards, his muttering. It was all part of the fun, until she heard another sound. A whisper. It came from the next room over, soft, like a girl humming to herself. Samantha leaned forward, pressing her ear to the crack between the wall and the cabinet. The sound grew clearer, childish humming, followed by a faint voice. Do you want to play again? Her heart jumped. That wasn't Jenna. She stayed completely still, eyes wide. Her phone flashlight flickered once, then died. Downstairs, Eli's flashlight hit something strange. A door he hadn't noticed before. It was smaller than the others, half hidden behind a shelf. It looked like a storage room, but the knob was shiny and new, like someone had replaced it recently. He pulled it open. Inside was pitch black and cold, the kind of cold that creeps under your skin. He took one step in and felt something crunch under his shoe. He pointed his light down. A small porcelain doll head stared back up at him, cracked down the middle. Then, from behind him, a voice whispered, You're not supposed to be here. He spun around, but no one was there. The door slammed shut. Upstairs, Samantha bolted upright as she heard the same door slam echo through the halls. Eli, she shouted. No answer. Jenna and Marcus came running out of their hiding spots, both pale. Was that you? Jenna gasped. Samantha shook her head. No, I think he's downstairs. Something's wrong. The three of them hurried down the stairs, their flashlights bouncing off the cracked tiles. When they reached the main hall, Eli was gone. Only his phone was lying on the floor, still recording. On the screen, they saw his flashlight beam flicker, a shadow move across the wall behind him. Small, fast, child-sized. Then the feed cut to static. Samantha whispered, "We need to get out." Marcus nodded, but the front door, the one they came through, was now sealed shut. No matter how hard they pulled, it wouldn't budge. Then, faintly, from down the hall, came the sound again, giggling. Children's laughter. And underneath it, a small, sing-song voice said, "It's your turn to hide." The laughter didn't stop. It bounced through the old orphanage, high and sweet, like a nursery rhyme sung by invisible mouths. The three friends, Samantha, Jenna, and Marcus, stood frozen in the entrance hall, flashlights trembling in their hands. "Eli." Samantha's voice cracked. "This isn't funny anymore." No response. Just the soft pat-pat-pat of little feet, running somewhere above them. Then a door slammed upstairs. All three turned toward the sound at once. They climbed the stairs slowly, the wood groaning beneath their weight. The air grew colder, thick with dust and the scent of burnt fabric. The upper hall stretched long and narrow, lined with doors that leaned off their hinges. Faded letters were painted above each one. Dormitory A, Dormitory B, Nursery, Playroom. A faint scraping sound came from the playroom. Marcus stepped forward, jaw clenched. "If this is Eli trying to scare us, I swear to God." He pushed the door open. Inside, moonlight poured through a cracked window, illuminating dozens of tiny beds. The walls were covered with crayon drawings, stick figures of children holding hands, all smiling wide. But someone had drawn over the eyes. Thick black circles, hundreds of them, as if the children had no eyes left to see with. Samantha whispered, "What the hell happened here?" Jenna's flashlight flickered, and she cursed under her breath. The beam landed on something in the corner, a small wooden chest. On its lid, written in faded paint, were the words, "Playtime Box." Marcus knelt and tried to open it. The hinges squealed. Inside were old jump ropes, dolls missing limbs, marbles, and something else. A shoe. A child's shoe. Tiny, brown leather, laces frayed. Samantha felt her stomach twist. "Put that back." But Marcus lifted it anyway. "It's just—" A sound cut him off. Tap, tap, tap. Tiny knuckles knocking from inside the walls. They all froze. "Please tell me that's Pipes," Jenna whispered. The knocking came again, this time closer. Then a voice, so faint they almost didn't hear it. "It's my turn now." The flashlight flickered, dimmed, and then the light from the cracked window went out. It was as if the moon itself had blinked. Darkness swallowed the room whole. Jenna screamed. Marcus dropped the shoe. Samantha stumbled backward into one of the beds, sending a cloud of dust into the air. The knocking grew frantic now, moving along the wall, around them, behind them. And then it stopped. When the light returned, the wooden chest was closed again, but there were fresh handprints smeared across the lid. Small ones. Ashy. Child-sized. Marcus backed away. "We need to find Eli and go." They ran from the playroom, their flashlights shaking wildly. Down the hall, one of the dormitory doors was open. A dim light flickered from within. Maybe a phone light, maybe a flashlight. Samantha's hope sparked. "Eli." She pushed the door open. The smell hit her first, wet, moldy, with a faint metallic tang. Inside, the room was empty except for one bed in the center. On it lay a doll, about the size of a child, wearing a white nightgown. Someone had tied a string of marbles around its neck like a necklace, and clutched in its porcelain hands was Eli's camera. Marcus picked it up. The screen was cracked but still playing. The footage showed Eli's flashlight beam moving through a dark corridor. His breathing was fast, shaky. Then a whisper, "Do you want to play with us?" Eli turned, and the camera shook violently. Shadows moved, small figures darting just out of view, giggling. Then a child's face appeared in the corner of the screen, pale, hollow eye staring directly into the lens, before everything went black. Samantha covered her mouth. "He's gone." Jenna trembled. That can't be real. Maybe he dropped it." But Marcus wasn't listening. He was staring at something on the floor beneath the bed. a trail of small, bare footprints, leading toward the door, and then splitting into three directions. One set led deeper down the hall, one led to the stairs, and one stopped directly behind them. A whisper brushed Samantha's ear. Soft, childlike. "You didn't count to 20. She spun around. Nothing there. Marcus shouted, "Let's go. Now." They bolted down the stairs, their footsteps thundering against the wooden planks. But as they reached the lobby, every doorway had changed, warped, twisted. The exit that led to the street now opened into a long, dark corridor they hadn't seen before. And far down that hallway, a light flickered. Samantha hesitated. "That has to be Eli." Marcus nodded. "We follow it. Just once. Then we leave." They stepped inside. The hall seemed endless, the walls stretching like a maze. The air grew heavy. Faint whispers echoed around them, counting. 1, 2, 3. The walls pulsed with sound. Their flashlights dimmed. And when they turned around, the door they entered through was gone. Now the counting grew louder. Children's voices, overlapping, echoing. 4, 5, 6. Jenna clutched Samantha's arm. "They're counting." Samantha swallowed hard. "Then who's hiding?" The voices stopped at 10. Then, from somewhere ahead, a small giggle broke the silence, and a door creaked open. Marcus stepped forward and aimed his light inside. What he saw made him drop the flashlight completely. There, in the corner of the room, sat 4 small children. Their skin was gray, their eyes hollow, their mouths wide open in silent smiles. And each of them was wearing a piece of clothing that didn't belong to them. Eli's hoodie, Samantha's bracelet, Marcus's beanie, Jenna's scarf. The smallest child tilted its head. "Now it's your turn." The door slammed, and the lights went out. When the lights went out, the world shrank to sound. Jenna's scream sliced through the dark, followed by the scraping of something small, fingernails dragging across the floorboards. Samantha's trembling fingers searched for her flashlight. She found it, clicked it on. The beam cut through dust and shadows and landed on the wall. Words were written there in charcoal black smears. "No one ever finds you, S." Marcus's voice came from somewhere in the room. "Where are you?" But his voice echoed wrong, like there were 2 of him, shouting from opposite corners. Then came the laughter again, dozens of small voices giggling, whispering, counting. 1, 2, 3. Samantha pointed her light toward the sound. The children, those things, were standing now, their heads cocked, faces cracked like old porcelain dolls. Their eyes were just dark holes that seemed to move under the skin. They began stepping forward, slow and unsteady, each movement accompanied by that awful creaking sound, like joints that hadn't moved in years. "Back up!" Marcus shouted. They stumbled into the hall. Jenna tripped and screamed, her flashlight flying out of her hand. It rolled across the floor, stopping beside a small shoe, the same one Marcus had pulled from the toy chest earlier. But now it was filled with blood. They ran, through the twisting corridors, past doors that led nowhere, past rooms filled with whispering. Every shadow moved. Every echo chased them. At last, they burst through a set of double doors and found themselves in the cafeteria, a wide, open space lined with rusted tables and overturned chairs. For a moment, it was quiet. Samantha's heart pounded. "We're trapped here." Marcus kicked a table leg in frustration. "There has to be a way out. Maybe a basement." Jenna interrupted him, pointing. "There's something carved there." On the far wall, scratched deep into the plaster, were rows and rows of tallies, hundreds of them, and beneath them, words etched in shaky handwriting. "We hid too long." A sound came from under one of the tables, soft breathing. Samantha crouched down, shining her light beneath. A little boy was sitting there, knees pulled to his chest. His skin was grayish-blue, his eyes glassy but still human. "Please," he whispered. "They make you play. If you stop hiding, they find you. And when they find you—" His voice cracked. "You stay." Then, from behind Samantha, the door creaked open again. Marcus turned. No. In the doorway stood a tall, thin figure, dressed in a burnt caretaker's uniform, face hidden in shadow. The man's left arm hung uselessly, twisted at an unnatural angle. In his right hand, he held a small bell. He rang it once. Ding! Instantly, the laughter began again, shrill, high-pitched, all around them. The little boy under the table screamed and vanished like smoke. The walls started to move. The sound of tiny footsteps surrounded them. "Run!" Samantha yelled. They darted down another hallway, the bell ringing behind them again and again. Each ring made the walls ripple, doors slam, lights burst. Marcus grabbed Samantha's hand as they turned a corner, then stopped dead. At the end of the corridor, illuminated by flickering light, was Eli. He was standing completely still, facing the wall. His phone hung loosely in his hand, its red recording light still blinking. "Eli!" Jenna cried, running toward him. He turned. His eyes were gone, hollow sockets filled with black ash. His mouth twitched into an unnatural smile. "Tag," he whispered. Then he lunged. Samantha screamed as Marcus pulled Jenna back. They slammed a door between them, Eli's fists pounding against the wood from the other side. Something hit the door again, harder this time. Cracks splintered through it. "Basement!" Marcus yelled. "If we get down there, maybe there's another exit." They sprinted toward a stairwell. The air grew thicker, the smell of burnt flesh and dust choking them. As they descended, the walls began to change, children's drawings morphing into dark smears, shapes that looked more like screams than pictures. The stairs ended in a door marked recreation room. Marcus kicked it open. The basement was huge, a maze of storage crates, rusted play equipment, and half-melted dolls. The flickering bulbs above them buzzed like dying insects. In the center of the room stood a single mirror, full-length, old and ornate. But it wasn't reflecting them. Instead, it showed the orphanage as it once was, bright, filled with children laughing and playing. And standing among them was the caretaker, smiling kindly. Then flames began to spread through the reflection, smoke rising, children screaming, the caretaker's face twisting in horror. The reflection shifted again, now showing 3 figures running through the halls. "Them. Is that us?" Jenna whispered. Samantha stared at the mirror, heart racing. "It's showing what's happening right now." Marcus shook his head. "No, look closer." In the reflection, behind their mirrored selves, stood dozens of burned children, surrounding them. The mirror shattered. The pieces flew across the room like blades. Samantha ducked, a shard slicing her arm. The sound of the bell rang again, louder than ever. From the darkness behind them, the caretaker's voice echoed. "You can't stop the game. You only join it." The lights exploded, plunging them into blackness. Samantha's flashlight flickered, and in the brief flashes, she saw them. The children crawling from the shadows, their mouths open too wide, whispering, "1, 2, 3, ready or not." She grabbed Marcus's hand, but he was pulled backward by invisible hands. His scream was cut short as he vanished into the dark. Jenna bolted for the stairs, but something grabbed her ankle and dragged her into the shadows. Samantha fell to her knees, shaking, blood dripping down her arm. Only the echo of laughter remained, and the caretaker's calm voice whispering from the dark, "It's your turn to seek." When Samantha woke, she thought she was blind. Everything was black, dense, cold, swallowing sound and air alike. Her throat burned when she tried to call Marcus's name. Only a faint echo answered her, like her own voice bouncing off a wall miles away. Then faint light. A single bulb flickered to life above her. She was lying on the dusty floor of the orphanage's basement, surrounded by the shattered remains of the mirror. But the strange thing was, she didn't remember falling asleep. The air was thick with the smell of burnt wood and something else, something sweet and rotten. Samantha sat up, her head spinning. "Marcus," she whispered. "Jenna." No answer. Only the soft sound of dripping water, or blood, in the distance. She picked up her phone. It was dead. The screen flickered once before going black again. The last notification still glowed faintly. Hide and seek. Recording. She didn't press play. She couldn't. When she stood, she noticed something strange. The basement looked different. The boxes were gone. The old toys and broken chairs were replaced by clean, lined-up beds. The lights above her weren't flickering anymore. They were steady warm. She turned in a slow circle. It wasn't a basement anymore. It was the orphanage as it must have looked decades ago. Bright, alive, full of laughter echoing faintly from the upper floors. Samantha's heart pounded. This isn't real. But the smell of soap and old wood was too strong, the warmth on her face too vivid. Then she heard it again, the sound of a bell. She turned. The caretaker stood by the stairs, smiling softly. His eyes, no longer blackened or hollow, shimmered with tears. "You came back," he said gently. "You always do." "What are you talking about?" Samantha whispered. He stepped closer, holding out the bell. "The game must continue. The children get lonely without someone to seek them." She shook her head. "Where are my friends?" The caretaker's smile faltered. "They're hiding." Her stomach dropped. "Hiding?" He nodded. "They always hide at the end. But don't worry. You'll find them eventually. Just like the others." The laughter began again, soft, distant, like it was coming from inside the walls. Samantha turned, staring at the door to the old playroom. Slowly, it creaked open. Inside, shadows danced, small figures darting between the beams of fading sunlight. For a moment, she saw them, Marcus and Jenna, standing among the children, their faces pale, eyes empty, moving in slow motion as if underwater. Jenna looked right at her and mouthed the words, "Don't seek." Then they were gone. The door slammed shut. The orphanage began to twist again. The walls blackened, the ceiling cracked. Flames flickered from nowhere, licking at the old wood. Smoke filled the air. Samantha coughed, stumbling toward the stairs, but the caretaker stepped in her path. "You can't leave," he said, voice calm even as fire roared behind him. "The game never ends." "I didn't start this," she screamed. He tilted his head. "Didn't you? You said the words. You called the game. You woke them." She remembered it now. The way they'd laughed earlier, chanting like kids. "Ready or not, here we come." It wasn't just a joke. It was an invitation. A ritual. The bell rang again. Ding. Her body froze. She could feel something crawling under her skin, a heaviness, a pressure, like invisible hands gripping her shoulders. Her vision blurred. The orphanage walls began to shift again, showing flashes, not of ghosts, but of memories. Children screaming. The fire spreading. The caretaker trying to save them, pounding on locked doors, crying out for help. And then the bell, ringing one final time before everything went dark. That's when Samantha realized the truth. The caretaker hadn't killed the children. He'd been trying to warn them, trying to play one last game of hide and seek to lead them to safety. But the smoke had filled the halls too fast. The fire had taken them all, and their souls never stopped playing. The air grew hotter, suffocating. Samantha stumbled, falling to her knees. The caretaker crouched beside her, his voice soft. "Now you understand. They're waiting. They need someone new. Someone who can play forever." Her breath caught. I'm not staying here." He smiled sadly. "You already are." Samantha looked down at her hands and screamed. Her skin was turning pale, cracked like porcelain, her fingertips fading into smoke. The fire around her flickered and went out, replaced by cold moonlight. She was standing again in the ruined orphanage, decades later, charred and hollow. Only the faint laughter of children remained, echoing faintly through the halls. And then, from the darkness behind her, "Ready or not, here I come."